The big news that broke last night is that Mark Zuckerberg, I almost called him Muckerberg, has admitted it. He was censoring Americans. He was, Facebook Meta was working with the FBI, and he can try and sugarcoat this all he wants. I ain't giving this guy the benefit of the doubt. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was making donations, and now he's trying to cover it up, cover his tracks, because he's just a little bit worried about Donald Trump winning. And I got to be honest. Look, in any honest sense of an election, I don't see how Donald Trump loses. Granted, the purpose of this opening segment is the shadow campaign, because I don't imagine Democrats are just going to sit back and let Donald Trump win. But aside from the big story about the manipulations from Facebook, which is beyond just the censorship of Americans relating to elections, but also COVID and the Hunter Biden laptop story, that's the stuff we know about. You think Zuckerberg is coming out and admitting the truth on, I don't know, maybe CIA whistleblowers or something like that, and the targeting of Donald Trump, the manipulation of information to accuse the president at the time of being a Russian spy? And that's, again, just the known unknowns. What about the unknown unknowns? Well, that's big news. And the story continues to develop. But the other big news, of course, is Tulsi Gabbard endorsing Donald Trump and RFK Jr. calling this the Justice League. And I the other day I said, I guess RFK Jr. would be the Martian Manhunter, because Martian Manhunter is kind of weird. But then I heard that story about how he sawed off a whale's head with a chainsaw. And I thought, Aquaman? But I don't know if Aquaman would kill the whale. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. Now people are making these memes of Team Unity, Donald Trump, and the Justice League, or whatever you want to call it. But I'll put it this way, my friends. The reason why I think in any honest sense of an election, meaning if the election is really just based upon an argument, there's no way Donald Trump loses. However, that's not what elections are about. So we have no idea what's going to happen. So we'll definitely talk about that. We got this big story. California wants to give $150,000 to non-citizens to buy houses. Good luck, Gen Z. Your American dream is being given away to non-citizens. Your birthright, and it is your birthright, is being given away. How about that? I'm going to stress this again. It is the birthright of Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and everyone who comes after us to inherit this country and the things we build. I built this building right here. I'm in a very large building. It's 7,500 square feet, 40 feet tall in the center, and it's a very large building. And I can only do so much with it until I die, because I will. I'll get old and then I'll die. And probably long before that, the building will be transferred to somebody else. With your help, your memberships, with the sponsors we have, we invested in building up a new property that I know I can only keep for so long. And it will be passed down to somebody. And one day, there will be a young Gen Alpha guy who starts a job here. And I don't know what this building will be in the future. But they'll come and they'll say, when was this building built? And they'll be like, man, this building was built 40 years ago. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, Tim Pool, he built it. And they'll go, wow, it's crazy to me. You know, I wonder how much people truly recognize that. Like, I really think about it when we build something versus when we're given something from those who came before us. It is the most shockingly offensive thing to me to see what great people of America have built being given away to people who are not American, who have broken our laws, violated our rules, and are being exploited to a great degree so that corrupt, evil people can steal political power. But you know what? When these illegal immigrants are brought in to bolster census numbers and give California and other blue states extra congressional representation, these illegal immigrants are colluding. They're taking our stuff. They really are. Okay? They're taking it from Gen Z and Gen Alpha and whoever's next. They're taking that. And I wonder if Gen Z really recognizes that. Man, these 26-year-old kids should be buying their own homes with white picket fences, and they should be having kids and a family and playing catch with the dog and all that stuff. And they can't. So we'll talk about that story. But then I got really good news. I can't leave you hanging, guys. We got good news. We've got machine guns are protected under the Second Amendment. A federal court has ruled that machine guns are constitutionally protected. So we're looking at potentially this escalating to the Supreme Court and the National Firearms Act being overturned, meaning you can walk into a store and pick up a fully automatic or select fire rifle, as is your Second Amendment right. So we're going to get into all that. We'll talk about all the news and all that jazz, whatever. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com. Pick up Cast Brew coffee. We're sold out of, we got Appalachian Nights back in stock. We are on the case. Appalachian Nights Ground is in stock. Whole bean still sold out. Man, guys, it's kind of crazy. We sell Appalachian Nights like crazy. When we first launched Cast Brew, Rise with Roberto Jr. was our flagship. This was the product we thought was going to be our hot button item. This was going to be it. We even put our rooster on it. We're thinking this is what people are going to buy. And for a minute, this is what everyone was buying. Rise with Roberto Jr. is delicious. It's a breakfast blend. It's a light roast. And we had Appalachian Nights as kind of just a passive thing. And then all of a sudden, despite the fact that we were promoting Rise with Roberto Jr., Appalachian Nights started outselling it like crazy. Because what happened was people would buy two, and then after trying Appalachian Nights, they'd just be like, I want more of this. And I got to admit, it's my favorite. It's a robust dark roast and my favorite. Ian's Graphene Dream has actually been selling really, really well. So check it out. Support the show. Support Cast Brew. I'll stress Cast Brew. All of the money is staying in Cast Brew so we can invest and build out this company because we want physical locations where y'all can get together and hang out, meet people, and we can have these real conversations. Also, head over to Timcast.com. Click Join Us. Become a member because your membership sustains us. Sponsorships do well for us. We don't have that many. You may notice I don't often do reads. If you listen to the audio version of the podcast on iTunes and Spotify, which I recommend you do if you ever miss an episode, I do have some ad reads, but for the most part, it's memberships. We do very few ad reads. And I also want to stress this too. I can't tell you how many times we get people hitting us up and asking us to do like 5 ad reads per episode. It's kind of crazy. I mean, because maybe we should do at least one mid-roll and one out end roll. On the audio version, we have ads all over the place. And if you watch this, you have the programmatic YouTube ads will pop up. But in terms of me actually doing these reads, like every other podcast, you watch the Daily Wire, they'll always do this thing. It's actually well done, much better than programmatic, where they'll be talking to you and they'll say something like, and I cannot stand what this president is doing. And you know what else I can't stand? A bad night's sleep. That's why I recommend. That's how they do their ads. It's smooth. It's, people laugh at it, but we don't do that. And I got to tell you, tens of millions of dollars, no joke. People have come up to us and said, you're losing out on all this money because you won't do it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe it makes sense to do a little bit more, but I think membership is the way to go. So become a member at timcast.com. That just means so much more, I guess. And then you don't got to have your show interrupted by constant ad reads when we're doing it, when it's live. When you watch Timcast IRL or the Tim Pool morning show right now, Timcast News, there's no ad interruptions unless YouTube injects them. I always turn it off. I don't allow that. But I think ads might play beforehand. Anyway, that's what we're doing. That's how we run the business. And I don't know. Here's a question for you guys, I suppose. We could go the traditional route and I could inject a bunch of host-ridden red ads. Like I actually pulled up a script at 9:30, 11, and 11:30 and read an advertisement. And that could dramatically bolster and expand the company. I don't know, maybe. Whatever. Let's talk about the news. Here we go from Fox Business. Meta CEO admits Biden-Harris admin pressured company to censor Americans. I don't buy it. I mean, I believe that he's admitting it, but I believe that what we're actually looking at is Facebook was totally in on the take, was happy to play ball, and now that Donald Trump is about to become president, they're just a bit worried about this. But this is part of the censorship industrial complex. It's part of the Five Eyes spy club, all of that stuff. All these other countries, what do you got? Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the UK, and the United States. They're all in on this game. That's why we're seeing in Europe, and this is an aside because France is in the Five Eyes, but France arrests Pavel Durov, probably pronouncing his name wrong, because this is it. If you defy the machine and the regime, they will come after you. Take a look at this. This is from the House Judiciary GOP. Mark Zuckerberg just admitted 3 things. Biden-Harris admin pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Facebook censored Americans. Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden laptop story. Big win for free speech. It's not over. This is not over. Now, I know that we did cover this last night on IRL, but there's a bit more that I want to get into pertaining to the election and how this will affect it outside of the conversation we have. I'm telling you, it's not over. On May 13th, 2024, RFK Jr. and Super PAC sue Meta, claiming election interference. Mark Zuckerberg admitted a couple years ago that Facebook pressured them to censor what is now known to be the true Hunter Biden laptop story and all of the dirt that came along with it. And they did, with smiles on their faces. Twitter did as well. It of course, was a manipulation, and we're now knowing that. But it's not stopped. Why is RFK Jr. still suing Meta for election interference if Mark Zuckerberg is truly showing remorse? Now, RFK Jr. won another suit or a preliminary injunction. We have this deferred injunction, in vaccine information censorship earlier this year. Facebook had not stopped. They're still going. And to this day, I assure you, Facebook is still the worst actor. I'm going to tell you this. So we produce content on all social media platforms, principally on YouTube. And this is really amazing stuff. YouTube has been taking over the podcast space. So shout out YouTube. Chill out on your automated censorship, you crackpots. It's ridiculous. iTunes has way better rules. They allow you to speak more freely. They really do. Not that they're perfect. That's why a lot of people who get banned on YouTube will put their podcasts up on iTunes. YouTube has been taken over. Now, what I'll say is we produce for everything. So we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Facebook. We post clips to TikTok and Instagram. And in the order of censorship, the worst actors, TikTok is by far the worst actor. Rules don't even matter on TikTok. And there's nothing you can do about it because they're not an American company. Sort of. But there's nothing you can do about it. They censor you. They say, bye. Doesn't even matter if you break the rules. They just say, you are not a part of our agenda. Gone. And then basically what everyone does is they make new accounts and then just start posting again. But that's the point. Go ahead. They'll just keep hindering you. So TikTok is the worst. Facebook and Instagram are the second worst. Then YouTube. Then iTunes and Spotify. And the best are X and Rumble. Rumble's better than X. But Rumble's probably the best in terms of allowing people to speak freely. But let me tell you about Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg is trying to act right now like he wishes he wasn't censoring people. Oh, heavens me. They're one of the most censorious. We get knocked down on Facebook all the time for no reason. It is remarkable to me that I am consistently called a milquetoast fence sitter as it pertains to this news and most stories. And we have to be careful when posting this show or any clips to Facebook. We make very little money off of Facebook ads. The platform is insanely censorious. Now, TikTok's a given. They'll ban you for no reason. You'll just be conservative. You'll say, I'm going to church on Sunday, and they ban you. TikTok's nuts. But what do we expect from TikTok? Instagram and Facebook? It's wild. We'll post a video where we're like, here's a story about a new law being passed in Oklahoma about transgender issues. Banned. And it's like, I didn't even say anything. Doesn't matter. And there's no one to talk to. There's no way to alleviate it. This is Mark Zuckerberg. I will not accept this BS fake. Oh, heavens, I wish it weren't true. Oh, why didn't we push back? He was in on the take. They got caught. He's getting sued into oblivion. He can't win. Donald Trump is leading, is the front runner. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a bit of a toss-up right now. No one really knows what's happening. But a lot of people expect that Trump is winning the argument. We'll see if that matters for his shadow campaign. And Mark Zuckerberg appears to be scared. I put it this way. I think Mark Zuckerberg's real game is he's trying to play it both ways. He's trying to hedge his bets and make sure that if Donald Trump wins, he can say, look, I was a victim of this too, and I'm trying to help. Yeah, we'll see. And Mark Zuckerberg has the power to alter elections in this country. So does Google, but Zuckerberg more so than most. And I don't believe him for a second that he is upset about this. He's probably sitting back being like, he goes to his lawyers and he says, tell me what I need to say. You think he actually wrote this letter? I don't think so. For those that missed it, here's the letter that was sent out to Jim Jordan. He wrote, I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation on online platforms. As you are aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of our investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Further to our cooperation with your investigation, I welcome the opportunity to share what I've taken away from this process. There's a lot of talk right now around how the U.S. government interacts with companies like Meta. And I want to be clear about our position. Our platforms are for everyone. We're about promoting speech and helping people connect in a safe and secure way. As part of this, we regularly hear from governments around the world and others with various concerns around public discourse and public safety. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, Come on. Like, what do you think the Biden administration means? Repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take the content down, and we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to take content down. We made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said, our teams at the time, like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction. And we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. Let me just pause real quick and break down what he's actually saying. Mark Zuckerberg is saying that the FBI criminally colluded with Joe Biden for his criminal actions. These were crimes they committed, and the FBI was in on it. Holy crap, Mark, grow some balls and come out and say we are under duress from a criminal organization operating within the federal government to cover up the crimes of the Biden administration. You know why he won't do it? Because he's a loser. Look, man, I'm not going to call Mark Zuckerberg a loser in regards to building a multi-billion-dollar information behemoth. I get it. He's a smart guy, but he's self-interested and he's a coward. He doesn't care about what happens to this planet. He doesn't care about what happens to humanity. He doesn't care about what happens to our people or this country. The only thing this guy's concerned about is that powerful federal interests put the proverbial gun to his head and said, dance. And he said, yes, sir. And he did. And now he's concerned with the bifurcation in the U.S. government that Donald Trump may do something similar. The only problem is justice will be on his side. Let me break this down for you. We got a little bracket in between that sentence and the rest of this letter, which I'll read. Joe Biden, he flew to Ukraine. But hold on. I want to go back in time. It's now confirmed by the corporate press. Oh, because they have to. Hunter Biden was seeking State Department assistance. There was an investigation into Burisma, into their CEO, Mykola Zlochevsky. Hunter Biden got hired by a Ukrainian energy company. Why? Makes no sense. Dude doesn't speak the language. And they said, oh, but, he's a lawyer and he's American. He's got experience. Get out of here. He's not European. He doesn't speak any of these languages. What is he doing on the board of a Ukrainian energy firm? Surprise, surprise. He needs help from the State Department. Joe Biden flies out and he speaks to the president at the time and says, if you don't fire Victor Shokin, the prosecutor investigating Mykola Zlochevsky, now I'm adding that. What he said was, he said, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion. And the president at the time says, who are you? You don't have the authority to do that. And he says, call the president and ask him. If he looks at his watch, you got 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, SOB, that's what Biden says. He was fired and they put in someone solid. This was a crime. Joe Biden does not have the authority to withhold congressionally approved loan guarantees to a country in exchange for a political favor that he is seeking, which is the firing of Victor Shokin. Victor Shokin, the prosecutor, signed a sworn affidavit that this was because he was investigating Mykola Zlochevsky. Zlochevsky had fled the country. The CEO of Burisma fled the country when he was under investigation. After the prosecutor got fired, and as Joe Biden says, they put in someone solid. Zlochevsky returns to the country. This was the game they were playing. They were actually going after a corrupt individual or, presumed corrupt individual. And Hunter Biden was worried about what this meant for his paycheck. But this is why they hired Hunter Biden. Mark Zuckerberg, a criminal element of the FBI. That's what he's saying. That's literally what's going on here. Came to him and said, there's going to be misinformation about Burisma. We want you to take care of it. Here's what he goes on to say. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. The only problem is all these corporate outlets started running these fake stories. 50 intelligence agent says the story is all the hallmarks of fake news. The Biden family and Burisma. Here's the reality. Criminal elements in the U.S. government were in on the take. They're a part of this conspiracy. Yeah, I got no problem saying it because it's confirmed fact now. Joe Biden flew to Ukraine and said that he would withhold loan guarantees unless they fired a prosecutor who happened to be investigating the CEO of the company where his son was working. You want to call it at bare minimum a conflict of interest? Sure. But we know that Hunter Biden was asking for assistance in this regard. The FBI's in on it, goes to Facebook and basically says, you will shut these people up. We will not allow our crimes to be discovered. Now Mark Zuckerberg's worried. He doesn't know who's going to win. There's a grand civil war, but not on the streets, happening between our political elites right now. And if Donald Trump is to win, Mark Zuckerberg might see the other side of some prison bars. Maybe not Zuckerberg. I don't know that it's appropriate to arrest him personally, unless he had personal involvement in this, but he's going to be sweating bullets, I assure you. If Joe Biden wins, he's going to have to apologize for these statements. But he kept it light. He didn't say they broke the law or anything. He said, we made the decision ourselves because he's scared. Donald Trump gets elected. Kash Patel might have some DOJ guys show up to his place of business and say, we want to go through all your communications. You can't delete those emails. He's going to get an order, a letter of preservation saying preserve your documents because we're coming for you. And the brunt of the federal government with unlimited funds is going to weigh down upon you, good sir. And Zuckerberg knows it. Temporarily demoted the story. What's actually happened here? It's beyond just Burisma. This action resulted in Joe Biden actually winning. Think about what went down. The FBI goes to Facebook and says, shut this story down. And Mark Zuckerberg says, yes, my liege. Helping Joe Biden get elected. The criminal himself who flew and offered up the illegal quid pro quo in Ukraine. This is confirmed fact. The media will lie to you about it. Maybe I should pull up the video from the Council on Foreign Relations. Joe Biden not getting the $1 billion CFR. Is that what it was? Is it that easy to pull up? Did I just pull it up? Yeah. Foreign Affairs issue lunch with former President Joe Biden from the Council on Foreign Relations. Here's the video.
Well, good afternoon.
It's an hour long, and they have the whole transcript here. Let's just pull up the $1 billion quote. So they said they were going to they were walking into a press conference. I said, "Nah, I'm not going, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion." They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said, "I said, call him." Laughter. I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion." I said, "You're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here," and I think it was about 6 hours. I looked at him and said, "I'm leaving here in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money." Well, SOB. He got fired, and they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Well, so they made some genuine substantial changes institutionally and with some people, but one of the three institutions, there's now some backsliding. Indeed. That's Joe Biden admitting it. Now, the Democrats and the corporate press will lie to you, and they'll say, no, that was in line with U.S. foreign policy, in line. Doesn't matter. The vice president does not have the authority to threaten to withhold congressionally approved loan guarantees. This is a quid pro quo. That means something for something. He said, I am going to obstruct congressionally approved loan guarantees from the executive branch with no authority, not even the president, unless you fire a prosecutor. And they did. And the prosecutor said that's why they did. And they told him it was because of Burisma. He signed a sworn affidavit. Ukraine is not an ally of this country. Ukraine is an enemy of these United States. They've invaded Russia, and now they're putting us at the brink of World War III. And it is the crackpot evil of the Democrats. And don't get me wrong, the neocons who jumped to the Democratic Party when Trump got elected that are trying to incite massive international conflict for their crackpot reasons. But anyway, ultimately, the letter goes on to say, apart from this, the Chan Zuckerberg initiative donated lots of money. It was supposed to be neutral, he says. Supposed to be neutral, he says. The reality is Mark Zuckerberg was deeply involved in the game. Everybody knows about Zuckerbucks and the funding he made. He's scared now because he decided to take sides with a criminal enterprise. What Joe Biden did was illegal. That's just it. And he gloated and laughed about it. And these people cheer him on. He cannot do this. The funny thing is, you want to know why I say it's illegal? Because they claimed Donald Trump did just that. They said Donald Trump threatened to withhold loan guarantees unless they investigated Joe Biden, which he's not allowed to do because Congress approved loans. That's funny. Joe Biden is on video admitting to doing the same thing. If you want to play the game that they're both guilty, then sure, whatever, I guess. Why isn't Joe Biden in jail? Why didn't they go after Joe Biden? Why wasn't he impeached? You can impeach someone after they leave. You can be impeached as vice president. Then once he is, he can be criminally convicted. Why not? That's the game they're playing. They arrest Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. Merrick Garland walks. Nothing happens. That's the reality. I always want to make sure I show the Time Magazine Shadow Campaign article for the people who just don't quite understand what's going on. They wrote it. Molly Ball wrote it. A weird thing happened after the November 3rd elections, February 4th, 2021. They said a conspiracy was unfolding behind the scenes, coordinating the resistance from CEOs, activist groups, a pact with unions. It was a handshake between business and labor. And what was it? It was to stop Trump. For Trump and his allies were running their own campaign to spoil the election. Yep. So they admit it. They call it a conspiracy. They call it a shadow campaign. No joke. It's admitted. Now, don't get me wrong. Every villain can paint their picture. Everyone's the hero of their own story. But I'll put it this way. We've all seen Star Wars. What's Star Wars about? The first one. Well, if you watch the movie, it's about a kid who grows up on a desert planet. They're humidity farmers. I think that's what it was. They're harvesting water in the desert. And Imperial troops murder his family, looking for him. He escapes and joins a ragtag bunch that has to stop the evil empire. That's how the movie is framed. But, of course, depending on how you depict the characters in it, you can make them either good or evil. In the real world, there's no evil cult space wizard who chokes people for no reason. You know, you look at this scene where Darth Vader is talking to the guy, and the guy's like, we don't need your superstitious old religion, and then he chokes the guy. Imagine like a bunch of generals sitting in the Situation Room, and then like Millie gets up and just strangles a guy. Like that doesn't happen. Even though they are the warmongering psychopaths. That doesn't happen. The reason I bring that up is we could frame it another way. A child indoctrinated by a religious zealot takes a cargo ship and blows up a military base. You can frame things however you want. The funny thing about this is that's what they're doing with this story. Time Magazine literally says there was a conspiracy behind the scenes to save the election from Trump. Yeah, that sounds like a criminal conspiracy. That sounds like you're the bad guys. But they'll frame it how they want to frame it. No. It was the extremists. You know, that was Trump. Yeah. Not everybody's innocent, my friends, but it's stupid to believe that you could publish a story so egregious like this and that these people aren't complicit. And of course, you look at what we're seeing from Mark Zuckerberg, and we know it's all true. The FBI was colluding behind the scenes to interfere in the election to make sure Joe Biden won. We're now learning that I got to pull this stuff up. I got to pull it up because otherwise people aren't going to. Let me see if we can. What is this? Ex-Honcho McCabe says intelligence agencies going to flee the country. Ex-Honcho McCabe says intel community members scared of being jailed by Trump may flee the country. It's terrifying, former deputy FBI director said. It's staring you in the face. FBI agents who were part of criminal activity know they're going to jail. They went to Mark Zuckerberg and said, you got to cover this up or else. Zuckerberg, like a pathetic coward, said, please don't hurt me. And so he did. I mean, look, I can recognize this. It's a tough spot for Zuckerberg. I'll try and be nice. You get the FBI showing up your doorstep and they're telling you that they're going to destroy you. And they have done some messed up stuff. A lot of messed up stuff. But what do? Zuckerberg says, I can't go up against them. What am I supposed to do? Fine. So he says, okay. The only problem is now whether you're a coward or otherwise, they're going to come after you. Donald Trump's going to win. Or I should say he's winning the argument. I don't know if he wins because you look at what they're willing to do. But the idea now that these intel members are going to flee the country, I got to make it real simple for you, ladies and gentlemen. Innocent people who did right to protect this country don't flee the country in panic, right? Donald Trump's victory has these people scared because they're criminals. They broke the law. They violated their oaths, and this is the reality of where we're at. Now, as I round out this segment, wrap it up, and we'll jump to the next one. I want to highlight our good friend, Jess Margera, because it's an example of where people in this country really are, and it's important. I like Jess. I think his brain's being fried. But for those that aren't familiar, he is the drummer from a band called CKY. CKY, massively influential in the 2000s. They had videos produced by Bam Margera, who's the brother of Jess, called CKY Land Speed, CKY 2K, CKY 3. I think they made it 4. These were just videos of dudes basically goofing off, and it basically kicked off like the Jackass era of MTV. So they still play CKY. They're touring right now, and I'm a big fan of their earlier albums. I don't know if they're releasing new music right now. I think they have some, but I think their music's great. Now I want to read this for you. He says, MAGA merch is made in China. Harris Waltz merch is made in New Jersey. That's how effing GD stupid these MAGAs are. They probably don't even understand this tweet or how effing insane this fact is, to be honest. He's not a bad guy. He's a normie. He's a regular dude. He's a drummer. He has no idea what's going on in the world, nor is he smart enough to actually do a Google search. How am I supposed to explain to this guy the complexities of the Burisma scandal when he doesn't know how to Google search? And I'm not trying to be a dick because I'm a fan of their band. I said, bro, I'm begging you. You got to come on the show. And I screenshotted Trump's official merchandise, all products made in the USA. Of course, Trump's merch is made in the USA. And so is Harris's. Why would either campaign make their gear in China? Well, I told him, I will Google search things for you live that will blow your mind. CKY is too good for me to allow your post to go unanswered. You either got to Google this ish before you post it or just chill and recognize you don't really know what's going on. He says, that's an awful lot of bootlegs, man. It is. How is this surprising to anybody? That third parties make cheap knockoff gear to sell to jump in on Trump's market share, but has nothing to do with what Donald Trump is doing. And I will say the same thing of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is making her merch in the United States. It's not hard for either a campaign to do. It's just stupid. There's no attack vector here. I said, indeed, why wouldn't there be? But Trump doesn't make his merch in China. I don't know why you need that to be true so badly. It's like you need to hate Trump for some reason so you believe anything. He says, to be honest, if these are the made in USA ones, I have never seen a MAGA hat with that front and text that big. Every single MAGA hat I have had the misfortune of seeing looks like this. I have never seen one of these before. I said third parties bootleg, man. It's how it goes. Harris and Trump both get their merch made in America. The bigger question I have is how come Harris doesn't have any campaign policies on her website? Like, what is she campaigning on? He's a normie guy. He locked his account and I tweeted him because he interacts. I think he genuinely wants to know, but he's just not a political guy. So what I tweeted at him one time, I said, Jess, what if I told you that Robert Plant was the greatest drummer of all time and his flubub technique was just the best? And I can't believe all these Harris people genuinely think that who can we let's come up with a good name. How about Eddie Vedder? How could they believe that he's the better drummer? And anyone who knows anything about rock is going to go, you're a moron. Robert Plant's not a drummer. He's a singer. What are you doing? Eddie Vedder was the singer from Pearl Jam. You're so dumb. Why would you tweet that? Bro, I ain't going to come to you, Jess, and tell you smack about being a drummer and rock drummers because you're the touring rock star with the big band, right? I mean, I made music, but this is the point I often bring up. Bro, why are you so headstrong and angry to jump out and just scream things you've never reached and have no idea what you're talking about? I'm not going to come out and spit a bunch of flib-flab nonsense about drumming to a rock drummer in a touring band that's been around for decades with like numerous accolades and awards or whatever. That'd be stupid. If just Margera was like, actually, Tim, who was it? John Bonham? Was that the drummer from Led Zeppelin? See, I don't even know. Look at me. I don't even know. Was I wrong? John Bonham. Hey, I got that one right. John Bonham was the drummer. Plant was the singer. And imagine if I were to say something like John Bonham's drum technique was not so good, and I like Def Leppard because the guy's got one arm or whatever. And then Jess came back to me and said, no, you're totally wrong, dude. What Bonham did with X, Y, and Z and, his trills or whatever, I actually do play drums, but I'm like a big drummer or anything like that. I defer. I'd be like, I don't know, I guess. I'll tell you a story. We had Zuby on the show. Zuby's fantastic. And this was several years ago. And I can't remember what happened, but I do remember this moment because I was wrong. And he said something about vitamins. And I said, vitamin means vital mineral. And he goes, no, it doesn't. It means vitalamine. And I went, it does? Hold on. And I was like, I thought it was vital mineral. I was like, why would it be vital mineral? And I was like, really? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, wow. Look at that. Vital amine. It's vitaamine, meaning Latin for life and English amine, making the word vitamin. It's like, how about that? And he's not even an expert on vitamins. I just thought, well, maybe I'm wrong about that. And so I often say things like that. Fact check me, because I'm pretty sure we're right on this one. But you know what? I got to tell you, the reason why I bring this guy up in light of all this, it's going to be a challenge when you're trying to explain to someone what the shadow campaign is. They'll tell you you're crazy. That's why I always bring up the Time magazine article. It's literally right here. Go read it for yourself. This writer, this journalist, basically lays out, I don't want to say admits like she was involved, but she writes how corporations, unions colluded in what she calls a conspiracy to stop Trump from winning. That's basically what Trump supporters have been claiming the whole time. Not all of them. Some of them are crazy. Don't get me wrong. But this is currently the position that we're in. Jess, he's a drummer. Bro, you want to tell me about proper drumming technique? I'll sit back and I'll listen all day and I'll say, huh. And as you're telling me it, I'll be looking these things up and being like, wow, I didn't know that. And then when you make insane claims, you lock your account. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with someone who's never played guitar before, trying to tell you, good guitar players, how to make a power chord. And you're like, bro, that's not, I mean, it's really funny. When I first started playing guitar, I tried making power chords like this. I didn't know better. And then someone was like, you got to use your pinky. I'm like, it's hard to use my pinky. My pinky's not strong enough. And they're like, you got to practice. And I'm like, why can't I just use my middle finger and my index finger? And they're like, because that's improper. And if you want to make a bar chord, you got to use your middle finger on the higher strings. So it's just take the advice from people who know better. Recognize you're not an expert on anything. I ain't going to go to Cody Dennison and ask him how to race a car. I'm going to ask him to race the car. Some people got to recognize you don't know stuff. I got no problem doing that. If I think I'm right, I'm going to say it. But politics is my venue, okay? News, media, information, conflict, crisis, politics is my venue, which means I get a lot of things wrong. And that means that just a drummer can get things wrong. The reality that we're facing right now is that we got a lot of people, and you know what, to the credit of Americans, part of the American spirit, who think they know everything, and they don't. Breaking through that's difficult, and that's the game we're playing. So I'll wrap it up by saying this. Mark Zuckerberg he's not a good dude. I don't buy for a second that he has the best interest of this country or that he's remorseful in any way. The only thing he is scared of the FBI because they do naughty stuff. They've done that for a long time. So he bends the knee. That's why he's not admitting it was their pressure. He's saying, we ultimately made these decisions. No, you didn't. You know what it means when the FBI shows up and says, do it or else. We know exactly what it means. But Donald Trump might win this one. And if he does, Zuckerberg ain't going to be too happy. Which brings us to our next upcoming segment, which we'll read in a second before we go to your super chat, after your super chats. Tulsi Gabbard's endorsement of Trump, RFK Jr. calling this the Justice League. This is a big deal. Trump now has the argument stronger than ever before. But the argument may not be enough to win an election. We're going to talk about that next. Before we do, let's go to your super chats, my friends. Let's talk about your super chats. I'll give a shout out to Cilantro Industrial Complex. Says Bam Margera recently had a guest board with Snake Farm. Did he really? Let me pull that one up. Bam Margera Snake Farm. Yo, look at this. Hey, check this out. Bam Margera's snakefarmco.com. Bam Margera guest board. Wow, look at that. It comes in all these different shapes and sizes. Snake Farm's first guest pro model for the man that changed not only skateboard culture, but culture itself, Bam Margera. The man is on a sober rampage. So celebrate him by picking up his new deck. We're huge Bam Margera fans here at the castle. I'm a huge Bam Margera fan. Let me tell you why I've never been a bigger fan of Bam Margera, by the way. Also, shout out to Snake Farm Skateboards. It's a veteran owned and operated and supported. And we're friends with them. They're good dudes. Snakefarmco.com. Their boards are actually really good. I think some of them might be, I think some of them are made in America and some aren't. I'm not sure. But we're big fans. Let me tell you about Bam Margera, my friends. I was a teenager in the 2000s, and we loved all of the CKY, videos. CKY 2K was huge. Land Speed. Bam Margera was on, I think he was on Toy Machine. What was it? Jump off a building? Was the video? It's been a long time. And man, dude is so incredibly good. Amazing skateboarder. He got wild. He was absolutely wild dude. Hitting people in the nuts and all that stuff. And I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to hang out with someone who was constantly on the verge of trying to smack me or just so. Whenever me and my friends were out, they were always filming that stuff, but I was never a part of that. And everybody respected the limits everyone else had. Some friends would punch each other and do jackass stuff and push shopping carts, and other people wouldn't do it. But we were all big fans. It was super cool to see in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, they added Bam Margera. I was like, yo, they got Bam Margera. Let me tell you why I've never been a bigger fan of the man. He's gotten sober. He's skateboarding again. And I have never been more inspired by who he is and what he represents, right? Young guy, lives this rock star life, gets this big MTV show, gets to drinking and drugs, and it was sad. It was a bummer to see him stop skating. And I was like, man, that hurts my heart. And growing up watching this guy and watching his videos and laughing. And then today to see him skating again, the weight is melting off. I'm like, legend, dude. Bam is back. And it's an inspiration for me, and it should be an inspiration for everybody. The dude has cleaned up his life. He's turned things around. So I also want to give a shout out to Neen Williams, too. Neen Williams from Chicago. I know him a little bit. We've skated a few times. I've been to his house once or twice, and he'd been to mine. But we weren't good friends or anything. He's just we're on the same age, and we skated in Chicago. The dude was drinking and smoking, and he was living that skateboard lifestyle. And then I think what happened was he got injured. and then decided to turn his life around. Now he's a fitness influencer. He posts videos of him cooking healthy food like vegetables and olive oil and all that stuff. He made a cheeseburger company. He's super fit. He works out all the time. I'm like, these are the dudes that inspire me. To see Bam Margera rise from the ashes like a phoenix, to come back. He's gotten sober and clean. He's skating. He's got a smile on his face. It's just like, dude, there is hope. That is awesome. I can't believe it, dude. I'm watching like one of Bam's videos. It's like, how is this dude so good? I'm actually jealous. I'm like, I'm younger than he is. I never stopped skating, but for 10 years, I wasn't skating super aggressively. And I'm like, and Bam is still like, after everything he's been through, he's just still so much better than me at skateboarding. And I'm like, I am jealous of that. But that's why the dude's an inspiration. So shout out to Bam Margera. We're big fans. Love to see him coming back. All right, let's go. Jason Dixon says, hey, Tim, please shout out the Discord. Hey, man, go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. Once you do, click the Discord, follow the instructions, you download the app, you log in, and you get access to these chat rooms where you can hang out with people. If you want to submit questions, you've got to be a member for at least 6 months. It's a screening process to keep away the trolls and the haters who are trying to ruin everything for us, get us banned or whatever. Or you can spend $25 a month and instantly join the upgraded slot. We have to have some kind of barrier because there are people who are bad actors, and this seems to either Timegate or Moneygate. We wanted both options because some people don't have the money, but some people also don't want to wait. So we were trying to figure out the best way to do it. I wish we didn't have to do it that way, but we get trolls and haters trying to screw the whole thing up for everybody. And even with these gates in place, it's still pretty rough. But there's a lot of people in the Discord. There's pre-shows, there's after shows, there's workshops. It's really great. Check it out. All right, Greg Duvier says, Tim, any plans to have an SCNR news channel that is like traditional news channel? Simply, here is what is going on in the world with no commentary. Indeed, we need to get there. The challenge is that SCNR, you don't make money. It's operating. Excuse me. Let me drink some water. Actually, I'm drinking Volt. Operating off of investment. And ideally, it would be great if we had, straight news from SCNR. This is what we were trying to do in the early days. Just straight teleprompter. Here's 3 stories in the morning without commentary. So hopefully we'll get there. Tales from the Inverted World with Shane Cashman is an SCNR podcast. So I'll stress this too. For everybody who invested in the early days back in like 2019 or whatever in the Subverse is what it was called at the time. The rebrand was SCNR. Your investment is alive and kicking. It is being fully funded and everything is going pretty well. If Tales from the Inverted World kicks off soon and starts generating lots of money and it's doing really well, then expect to see that return. Let me pull up. We're probably going to be launching a lot of new shows with Tales from the Inverted World. With SCNR. Let me pull this up for you guys. Go to Tales from the Inverted World on YouTube and check out the show. Live Sundays at 6 p.m. I believe, and it's doing really well. Basically, the premise of the show is mystery, weird, conspiracy, phenomenon, flat Earth, all that crazy stuff, UFOs, murder mystery, Sasquatch, and it's just kicking off. It's been only a couple of months, but already 45,000 subscribers, getting 7,000 or so views on each episode, plus the clips that are going up. We're going to be launching a campaign for it. You can see here at scnr.com where I got the next segment for you. Inverted World Live is the first series for that. And so ultimately the goal is this, like we're trying to make Timcast just be Timcast. So the morning show and the nightly show, Pop Culture Crisis is its own entity. They do their own show and they're doing really well. Shout out to Brett and Mary. Mary recently got a big shout out from Matt Walsh. So Pop Culture Crisis is doing really, really well. Check out Pop Culture Crisis as well. And then we got the Boonies, of course. So we're hoping that with SCNR, Inverted World Live is the first podcast project, and then we're going to be launching more. But maybe a true crime, You know what? I got to be honest. I tell you where the money's at. We got to do a podcast where women talk to other women about going on dates. That's it. That's it. I'm not kidding. Like, women love that show. I don't know, Married to Strangers or whatever it is. It's like, we took two strangers and they got married. And like, women, it's like just like the most popular show ever for women. They all just love it. And I'm like, I don't get it. Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. I'll watch Die Hard 500 times. I watched Alien Covenant the other day. Funny, Jesse Smollett's in it. And I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to, I like the Prometheus series of Aliens, of Alien. I like that better. But I don't know, women love that stuff. That's what women want to listen to. They want to listen to like bad dates. So if we made a show called like Bad Dates and had a woman host it and basically just lined up women to talk about going on bad dates, it would be like the biggest show ever. So whatever, I don't know. All right, let's grab a couple more here. All right, Bright Results Media says, I appreciate you not doing those ads. Thank you. Yeah, that's the game, my friends. Maybe we do like one mid-roll at the top of the hour where instead of doing those things where like, you know, look, I think it's clever the way the Daily Wire does it. It's better than a lot of people do. And that's the ads where they're like, you know, Donald Trump is the greatest president we've had in our lifetime. And you know what else is great? A good shave. That's why I use, you know, it's like, I think what we would do is at the top of the hour before our segment started, I'd say, hey guys, we're going to jump into this next segment. Before we do, I'm going to give a shout out to our mid-roll sponsor or like, you know, our second sponsor for the day. Shout out the company or something like that. And we could do that. We do have a lot of people who hit us up periodically. We may pick them up for the top of the show and things like this. But I just think the shows are substantially better without interruption. You know, like Joe Rogan doesn't do ads. Like you're listening to his show on YouTube. I guess maybe YouTube, you know, but he doesn't do like ad reads in it. He does them front loaded like 3. Maybe that's the play. Maybe we just do 3 ad reads right up front for like 2.5, 3 minutes, like most podcasts or something. But what everybody wants us to do is like we get these people telling us you got to do 5. You do 1 at the start, then you do like 20 minutes in, then you do 40 minutes in, then you do an hour in, and then you wait because the ones in the back aren't worth as much, and you know, then you do another one or something like that. You basically like slowly space them out on some like, I don't know, Pythagorean curve or something like that. Pythagorean curve, whatever. And is that even the right? What am I talking about? Maybe I'm getting that wrong. Anyway, the point is, I get people hitting us up being like, you guys are leaving $20 million on the table by not doing ad reads during the show. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like Timcast IR will be really weird if like every 15 minutes we were like, wow, that's crazy. Well, anyway, let's talk about our next sponsor. And that's, I don't know. You know, when you watch the show as like a rerun, like not if you're not live, there's ads in it for sure. And YouTube just auto plays ads. But if like we interrupted the flow of the conversation to do ads, I just don't know if that would work. So that's why I'm just like, become a member at timcast.com. And hopefully we don't have to do that. We'll figure out other means. Let's go. What do we got? All right. Robert Norwoods is about ads. Have you thought about doing digital display that cycles advertisement banners in the back shot of your videos? Might be a cheaper option for smaller businesses. Indeed it is. It's hard to sell the inventory and it's not really that valuable. So, I mean, what can we really do? Imagine like, we do this with some sponsors when we have big shows. We'll do a sponsor in the beginning and then there'll be a banner at the bottom saying like, you know, every 5 minutes or whatever, the banner pops up and goes away. I don't know. No idea. Let's see. Chetik says, regarding to Durov, you missed the point that Russia actually banned Telegram at one point due to it not decrypting for the FSB. Then they released the ban. Curious? Also, Russian army is using quite heavily on it for their comms. Interesting. All right, let me grab this latest one, and then we'll read the story about Tulsi. I implore you to view the recent convo Trigonometry had with Richard Dawkins when they discussed free will. A wealth of insights to be had. You have the wisdom to make a superb segment from it. Indeed. Could be fun. Maybe I can pull it up. I am searching now. I also want to shout out Vault. They did sponsor us one time when we were at the RNC. I absolutely love these things. No sugar, no caffeine. It's a ketone energy drink. I was skating the other day. They're not sponsoring us, by the way. I was skating, and I do my warm-ups, and it's, warming up sucks. It's like I try to ride the board a little bit, go on the ramp. Once I get the heart pumping, then I'll start doing some stretches. So usually it takes me like 10 to 15 minutes before I'm ready to go 110% and break my bones or whatever. I did a live stream on Instagram, and I did a switch blunt, switch heel, and then hung up and then ate it. That was fun to watch. That was fine, but I was warming up. I drank one of these and instantly felt like I was at 100% capacity, and I was like, yo, this is kind of nuts. And then after skating for about a half an hour, I started to come down, and I was like, I'm going to slam the rest. I slammed the other half and instantly was back at 100%. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It says ketones produce 3 times more brain energy than sugar, whatever. And the dude who owns it said that it puts you in the zone, the flow state or something. Tastes really good. I just ordered a bunch more. But here's the other thing, too. Check this out. Look what I got. This is the Tim Bar. We're not calling it Tim Bar, by the way. This is a protein bar that was formulated by Mark Lobliner. He asked me what I wanted a protein bar. I told him low sugar, high fat, high protein, peanut butter, and he made it like overnight, sent it to us. They're amazing. We're probably going to launch protein bars. All right. I see this one day ago, the reality of sex, gender, evolutionary history, and free will. I suppose what I would need is a specific clip that someone will want me to comment on. That could be a fun segment to do, though.
We had this big controversy.
Oh, actually, they say, geez, these guys are pros. These trigonometry guys. Look at this. You got the whole thing broken down. Should we do something on free will? Debating free will. How long is that? I've never listened to this. How about we do a special segment? I just do this right now. Yeah, we'll talk about Tulsi Gabbard. Let's roll. All right, so I'm gonna watch this clip from Trigonometry and comment on it about free will. I've not heard it before, but someone brought it up to me, and I'm really interested in the philosophical conversation. So I'm going to play this, and then we'll talk about it.
Do you believe in free will? Do you believe that we have free will?
As Christopher Hitchens said, I have no choice.
That's a good one.
Christopher Hitchens was very good at avoiding answering the question in that way.
I just avoided it. I hate that question. I think I'm persuaded by people that I've read that free will is an illusion, but it's a very, very powerful illusion. And we all feel as if we've got free will.
So
I disagree.
You believe that the question I'm asking you now and the answer you're giving me now is predetermined?
I'm afraid I do, and I find that very hard to stomach, but yes.
Well, it is the logical conclusion of your beliefs.
I think it is,
that
yes.
view, necessarily. So do you think that... I guess here's a question, and I don't mean it as some kind of gotcha, but do you think that to believe that people have free will is unscientific?
No, not necessarily.
Can we speed this up?
Well, the Heisenberg's indeterminacy principle that there is...
We do have free will.
I'm sure all our viewers are very familiar with it, Richard.
I can explain it.
Well, I'm not, because I'm not a physicist.
Yeah. Nor are they, is my point.
No, I know, but
You're going to have to explain this in simple language.
No, I can't explain. I'm not a physicist, and I'm not sure even they can. It's a very difficult thing. Well, you probably heard the sort of joke of Schrodinger's cat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have a cat and a mechanism which is triggered by a radioactive
decay
emission, so that either the cat is dead or not.
All right. Okay, guys. I talk really fast. I move too fast for these things. No wonder people like to play podcasts on 2 times speed. No offense, trigonometry is fantastic, but Richard, come on, speed it up. All right, Schrodinger's cat. You got a cat in a box. There is a vial of poison. The poison will be released, killing the cat, if a sensor detects radioactive decay. The question is that when we track the position of an electron, it is either a wave or a particle, depending on how we track it. And so the simple version is we view I believe this is related to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that we don't know the point at which wave function collapses, that an electron goes from a wave to a single point or a particle. And that so long as we aren't measuring this phenomenon, the electron is in a superposition of all states, and thus the cat at the macro level would be theoretically both alive and dead at the same time until you observe to determine whether or not the decay occurred, and then the animal died. I think that perfectly explains that we have free will. I mean, it's actually a brilliant way to explain that we have free will. We can map out we can look at things and see relatively deterministic outcomes, but there is a degree of chaos that exists within all things. Thus, while what we do is largely predetermined, fact, there is a component of all of us that is free will. There's a lot of ideas around this. Now that I've explained probably more quickly Schrodinger's cat, let's play this and see what his argument is, but then I will give you my thoughts on the matter.
Dead. And according to one interpretation of quantum theory, because of the indeterminacy principle, the cat is neither alive nor dead until you open the box and look at it. And Schrödinger posited this thought experiment as a way of saying how absurd the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum theory actually is. Because surely common sense says the cat must be alive or dead. And these are profound, deep waters which I am not qualified to wade in.
I guess as a very prominent biologist, though, I think the reason I'm asking you about free will is, having read your work extensively and now having asked you the question, it seems to me that it inevitably follows from the system of beliefs that you have, that, as you concede, free will can't exist, right?
Certainly I can.
So the reason I asked you whether it's unscientific is not because I was trying to get you to say something provocative or dogmatic. I'm just trying to understand how human beings might have free will within, the conventional scientific understanding of human realities and evolution and so on.
Yes, to say that something is unscientific is a pejorative which I wouldn't wish to go into. My private suspicion is that we don't have free will, but I wouldn't wish to condemn somebody who thought the opposite.
I don't think he's making a coherent argument in any sense of the imagination. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm chugging this Vault energy drink, but I kind of feel like this is the most underwhelming thing I've listened to in terms of an argument about free will. Let me show you this. This is 7 years ago, a GIF that I saw back then, and I love it. I feel that this represents a lot of the arguments in physics about perhaps Heisenberg uncertainty, Schrodinger's cat, and free will, etc. So this is, for those that are watching, it says, here's what's happening in Horizon Zero Dawn every time you move the camera. And the image being displayed shows that the terrain of the world disappears and reappears only when the character, the player character, is observing it. Many people believe this is how reality functions. So, again, to describe what this GIF is, you're looking at a terrain landscape in a video game where it's mostly wilderness. As the character camera view pans left, you can see this pyramid-like structure, which is the shape of your screen, pans left and right. The world generates in real time and degenerates when you're not looking at it. This is kind of like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. When we're not observing wave function of an electron, and this is what scientists think. I've read books. I don't know. I've never actually looked at an electron microscope. When you measure, you get a particle. But we don't know the point at which wave function, the wave of an electron, collapses into a single point. I think this kind of exemplifies it in a way that we can understand. Now, some may say, you look at this from Horizon Zero Dawn, a video game, and you see the world collapsing and reappearing as the player looks upon it. And they may be thinking, wow, we're in a video game. The world is built as such that the act of observation manifests reality around us. And thus, our perception of events, our observation can manifest reality. That's kind of the hippie new age way of looking at it. Simulism, they call it. Another way to look at it is not that we can influence reality by observing it, but that reality wave function collapses into existence upon our observation that we cannot control. That is to say, when the character in Horizon Zero Dawn pans the camera left and the reality manifests itself for the first time as you're about to look at it, you can't decide the rock will or won't be there, or will or won't be a different shape. The rock will always emerge upon observation. It will always be the same. Nothing else will change that. The only thing that you can actually do is enemies respawn. You look in one area, you take down the horse robot, because that's the game, and then you turn around, turn back, and the horse robot has returned. But for the most part, reality will not change based on your observation. It either exists or doesn't based on your observation. I think the reality is much simpler. Not that we live in a simulation, this proves it, but that we exist within a system of rules. We can simulate those rules on a smaller scale. That's what a video game does. Video games are built using the rules of the universe that we exist in to create a smaller version of what is. The fascinating thing is that we make a video game and then people think video games are representations of what the universe is. The universe must be a video game. No, the universe is a grand construct. Within it, we have taken within the rules of the grand construct to create a smaller version that is wholly inadequate compared to the greater, and we have assigned rules to it. That is to say, just because video games function this way does not mean the universe we exist in is a video game or simulation. That's silly. It's reductive thinking. I think it's more important to realize that the video game character, the best analogy we can make, is so oblivious to the greater reality beyond it, and it will never be able to comprehend. There is no reality in which you will tell Aloy, the character in Horizon Zero Dawn, that she's in a video game and her world only constructs when she looks at it. You can't do it. So then, for this reality that we're in, a greater and more pronounced structure, probably the closest thing we have is there's not going to be, at least to the best of our assumptions, someone intervening and telling us what we can or can't do. That being said, in this video game, you freely move your character about and you can have her run and jump off a cliff if you want. That's your choice. It is free will. The argument is that we are all non-player characters. To say that we don't have free will is to argue that all functions of the universe are guaranteed. I don't believe that's correct. My understanding, reading about quantum physics, and I'll put it this way, humans are fallible and quite. We may be very, very wrong about how physics works, and we're probably completely wrong because we're currently mapping it out. We don't know for sure. Based on what we think we know now, we find that sometimes electrons and particles behave rather oddly in an unpredictable fashion, and we don't yet know why. Now, it could be that the code of the universe, the rules that structure reality in which we exist, determine that there is still going to be some confine to how when particles collapse and how they function and what they do. Perhaps there is just 80% static, 20% variable. The variables will still be defined within a predetermined context. If that is the case, then we don't really have free will. I actually think there's just probably more likely to be a random number generator, an oversimplification of it, which gives us to a great degree an element of free will within certain confines. Some people deviate well beyond what is rational and sane, and they'd be forced to do, and some don't. It is rare that people deviate in such extreme ways. But ultimately what I see is this. We do have free will. For most of us, it's completely constrained. That is to say, Mark Zuckerberg, he's going to do exactly what he has to do, and it's predictable. Someone comes to him and says, or actually, I think the seat of governance is a really great example of this. Someone goes to Donald Trump and says, here's the intelligence that we have. Actually, Trump's probably not a good example because he's an example of free will. Barack Obama. He's like, I'm going to get in. I'm going to end these wars. I'm going to get us healthcare. I'm going to do these things. You vote for me, we're going to save this country. And then you vote for him. And then he blows up a bunch of kids. And you're like, why did you do it? Because people are victims of circumstance. And they can only move within certain boundaries. Donald Trump deviates from this. He's a wild card. Barack Obama sits down at the Resolute desk and he says, now that I'm president, we're going to make sure we're getting our troops back. And we're not going to be expecting this war. And then the guy from the intelligence agency says, here's a folder, open it. And this is not the JFK joke. No, he opens it and he sees, holy crap. China's already moving in. Russia's advancing. They've got strategic, military batteries and missiles ready. They're ready to invade and take this land. We withdraw now. They take it. Region destabilizes. We lose control. Here's the cascade failure. Barack Obama has a choice. He says, I can keep my promise that I made before I knew this, or I can accept that I'm going to just fall in line with this. Nobody wants to be the disruptive force. So Obama just says, all right, make it happen. Because it's not that he's the leader and in control. It's that the office controls you. I think it's really simple. I mean, you get put into a forklift. You can only do so much with it. What are you going to do? You're going to dig a bunch of random holes, or are you going to move the object you're supposed to move from point A to point B? You could. You could choose your free will. You really could, but people mostly do not do it because we're looking at incentive structures. Will the actions that I take result in a benefit? Some people deviate. For Donald Trump, I imagine what happens is he sits down and he says, we're getting our troops out. I said we're not doing it, so bring our troops back, and that's my order. And they say, Mr. President, take a look at this. And he looks at it and he goes, I see. Looks pretty bad. Do what I said. And they're like, whoa, you're deviating. You can't do that. It'll have a cascade failure effect. We doesn't matter. Trump said no. And that's ultimately where you end up. Free will does exist, but most people don't want to exercise it. They want to go with the flow, take the path of least resistance, but it certainly does exist. Now, the greater idea and the possibility that it doesn't is that every electron function in your brain is predetermined, like dominoes falling over. And what we're really looking at is time doesn't exist. We are one storyline, pre-programmed from point A to point B, and nothing will ever change that. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe it's true. I believe it's just mostly true. I believe that for the most part, we have the ability to exercise free will. That is the collection of ideas in our mind and our willingness to either deviate or follow the path of instruction. It exists. But we just don't want to. We don't want to deviate. Why don't I quit doing this show? Quit the morning show, quit the nightly show. It's funny. I'm watching the news this morning and I see a guy speaking and what's he doing? I'm like, what does that guy do all day? Most people, they do very, very, very little work and they live well. Me, I live well, but I work all day, every day, nonstop. I'm in the office basically 24/7. In the office for the morning show, then I exercise. We film the skating. That's my exercise. We film that to make clips. And then I do the nightly show. And I think to myself, I could shut it all down right now. And I could just go relax and do literally anything. Why don't I? I don't want to. I don't know. I have that free will. I could make that choice, but I don't want to. I'm going along this path. This is the path that I feel compelled to be on. I think that I have a responsibility. I have a duty, and I have to do this. I have fears and concerns about what it means if I stop doing it. What does that mean for the people who work here? What do they need? So I keep going. I just keep doing this one thing. To be fair, I enjoy it. It's not a hard job to talk about philosophy randomly in the middle of my own show, make a segment about it. But that's the reality. Do you really want to deviate? You could. Do you want to? There are hard choices in life. You want to know where free will exists? Let me tell you, a roulette table. Okay? Here's what you do. You put $5 down. Well, I don't know what the table minimum is going to be. You put $15 down on 26 black. The dealer spins that ball. And then you're thinking, oh, is it going to be 26 or 28? What do I do? Make a choice. Some people switch their bets. That's free will. That's the moment where you don't know where it matters. You don't know what to do. You don't know what the right bet is. The ball's spinning. You got seconds to answer, and you have that choice. Up or down, yes or no, left or right. In most life, you're not going to quit your job. Your family needs you. You've got a duty and a responsibility. You march in that line. But every so often, you make the choice. You deviate. And we see that replicated across the spectrum. So anyway, somebody asked me to talk about it. So there you go. I did. Let's get back to talking about the news, my friends. And we'll jump to this segment I was going to talk about with Tulsi Gabbard. For this segment, I'll just say thanks for hanging out, everybody. It's a special bonus segment because someone asked for it. And I'm allowed to. Let me wrap up by saying this. I could stick to just doing news. I could not deviate from the show to talk about free will. But in so doing, I have changed the format of my show, extended the amount of time I have to work because I chose to do it. Why? Does it benefit me? I don't know. I think some people probably don't want to watch it. Some people don't care about philosophical conversations about free will, but I can choose to do whatever I want. There you go. Free will exists. Thanks for hanging out. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. This is probably going to air on Friday or whatever. I don't know. Let's talk about the news. All right, now we'll get back to the news. And that was a bonus segment. Here we go. From SCNR, Tulsi Gabbard endorses Trump for president, creating what RFK Jr. has called the Justice League. It's kind of cringe, but okay. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. tweets, Wonder Woman just joined the Justice League. Oh, man. All right. Now, Tulsi Gabbard's great. I'm a big fan. I've been a fan of hers for a while. I wish she didn't endorse Joe Biden in 2020, but she did what she did because we all have free will. Tulsi Gabbard says, I am committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief. Gabbard, a veteran, gave her endorsement of Trump during the former president's press conference in Detroit this morning. The press conference followed Trump's Monday morning visit to Arlington Cemetery, the third anniversary of this nation's withdrawal from Afghanistan, which left 13 United States service members dead. She says, I know that President Trump understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives. He keeps us in his heart in the decisions that he makes. Gabbard touted Trump's first term in office, which saw no new wars in his efforts to end the 20-year-long war in Afghanistan. He exercised the courage that we expect from our commander-in-chief in exhausting all measures of diplomacy, she said, noting Trump's meeting with adversaries to the United States in the pursuit of peace. The same cannot be said about Kamala Harris, Gabbard said to the vice president. In fact, the opposite is true, and we're living through this reality today as his administration has us facing multiple wars on multiple fronts in regions around the world and closer to the brink of nuclear war than we have ever been before. Completely agree.
To the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before. This is one of the main reasons why I'm committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief.
Right on.
Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war. We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace. And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its...
Yeah, she should have worn blue. She's wearing blue up here. It's clearly an old photo because Democrats wear blue and Republicans wear red. And I think that's silly. I think she should have worn blue. Whatever. Gabbard then accused President Joe Biden and his administration of weaponizing the federal government against his political adversaries. Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected president, Gabbard warned, adding the Biden-Harris administration sought to prevent Trump's ability to run for president. We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future. I'm proud to stand here before you today, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. If you love your country as I do, if you cherish peace and freedom as we do, I invite you to join me in doing all that we can to save our country and elect President Donald J. Trump and send him back to the White House to do the tough work of saving our country and serving the people. Gabbard previously ran for president under the Democrat ticket in 2020. We know this. The former Hawaii representative joins other outspoken liberals and former Democrats, including RFK Jr., Elon Musk, in endorsing Trump for president. And so while RFK Jr. says Wonder Woman has joined the Justice League, we have Marvel Studios Team Unity. And Donald Trump is Captain America. I don't know. Who is this that's star in his chest? Is that Captain Marvel? I don't know who any of these people are. I know like the actual. You got J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Elon Musk, and Vivek, but I don't know what I guess it's just an AI rendering. So it's just, whatever nonsense. Trump as Captain America, and then they photoshopped the heads in the back. But that's Marvel. That's the Avengers, not the Justice League. So we talked about this last night. Who would they be? Tulsi Gabbard, Wonder Woman. Makes sense. Yeah. Donald Trump as Superman. Makes sense. I guess Elon Musk would be Batman because, wealthy tech guy. Building a spaceship, Batman built the orbital Justice League, the tower, I think it's called. And then RFK Jr., I guess, would be Aquaman. I don't know. Aquaman, I don't know. He is kind of like ripped and whatever. RFK Jr. once beheaded a dead whale with a chainsaw and tied head to roof of his family's minivan. Shout out to RFK Jr. He sounds like a fun guy. It was funny when the story came out about him dumping the dead bear in the woods. Everyone's like, hey, don't rag on him. He's fun. It sounds like a fun time dumping a dead bear in the woods and throwing a bike on top of it. Holy crap. Well, he is a Democrat, right? In all seriousness, though, you take a look at the people that he's got behind him. And it is funny that J.D. Vance was a never-Trumper. Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat. J.D. Vance was a never-Trumper. RFK Jr. was a Democrat. Elon Musk is a multi-billionaire Democrat tech CEO. Vivek Ramaswamy came from Big Pharma. And people have criticized all of these people for these things. Can we just point out that this literally is team unity? Donald Trump, also a former Democrat. He was a New York liberal. He runs now as a Republican, as the moderate in this race and the last races. A middle-of-the-road guy trying to represent average Americans. He's wealthy. He's well off. They say he doesn't understand the plight of the middle America. I got to tell you this, maybe. But if that's the case, I can't even begin to explain what Democrats represent or the neocons. Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat Hawaii rep. She was supposed to be the heir for the Democrats. She was their backbench. No joke. And then she betrayed Hillary Clinton for Bernie Sanders, and they were pissed. She was their shining star. They said, she's military. She's a great talker. She's young. She is perfect as a woman of color to represent what we want. And then she said, no, you ripped off Bernie Sanders and you're losing. And she called them out for it. They lost it. And they ripped her to shreds. They wanted war. She did not. So she was out. That Democrat is now endorsing Donald Trump. J.D. Vance, a never-Trumper, who called Trump the worst of the worst things, who now says, you know what, he was wrong about that. RFK Jr., an heir to the Kennedy political dynasty, who wanted to run as a Democrat in the primary. Incredible. Elon Musk, he was a Democrat voter. He makes electric cars. He complains about climate change. And now he is here backing Donald Trump. Vivek Ramaswamy ran a pharmaceutical company, Big Pharma. Democrats call it out. Republicans call it out. Everybody hates Big Pharma. And Vivek's story is fantastic. Vivek is the smartest guy in politics right now, no question. I'm a huge fan. Vivek says that the BLM riots happen. They come to him and they say, you need to put up a black profile picture. And he was like, I do? And they're like, well, it's like everyone's doing it to show solidarity because of what happened. He was like, okay, I guess. I'm not sure if he did. I think he did. Then he was told, you got to write a letter. You got to write something. And he was like, oh, sure, I guess. And then he wrote something where it was like, you know, it's really sad that this has come to our country. The riots are causing a lot of pain and suffering. And we lament the death of, I think it was George Floyd. And it was very neutral. They came to him again and said, how dare you? You need to be on our side completely. He said people started resigning. And he was just like, what is going on? I think that's the moment he was like, you want to play games? I think Vivek was like, look, man, we're running a pharmaceutical company. Okay? They demanded he become an activist. They demanded he bend the knee to them. So he became an activist against them. They radicalized him. They weaponized him for Trump and for the Republican Party, for MAGA populism. This guy said, you are all nuts, and you do not realize who you have angered with those threats. We had him here, I think it was like a year and a half ago, one of the original Culture War shows, and he explained all of that. And fascinating how they woke up this fury within Vivek, and now you genuinely do have this unity party. I don't see how he loses when it comes to the argument. I can certainly understand shadow campaigns, which we'll get into in a second. But take a listen. We got this clip from Tenet Media. Follow at Watch Tenet now on X. They've been putting out these great clips. They've been tracking the news, and it's a great source, by the way. We also have the Culture War show at Tenet Friday mornings. Don Lemon's interview across the country were a huge reality check. Turns out many Americans don't know who Kamala is and think Trump was on black people's side. Listen to this.
Was there anything, what did they think about Harris? Did they have anything to say about her?
They did have, listen, it depends on where you are. We went to a number of different battleground states in Pennsylvania, Ohio. We were in Michigan, Indiana, on our way, obviously, Illinois, on our way to Chicago. And it sort of depended on where you were. Pennsylvania, well, I shouldn't say Pennsylvania, I should say Philadelphia, was a bit more liberal, and the answers to the questions about her and him were quite different. But for the most
struggling to say it.
In Pittsburgh or at the Jersey Shore and in Atlantic City, in Ohio especially, many people did not know who she was. Right? They weren't familiar with her. So I think she has to reintroduce herself to the public. But for him, I think that they thought that he's better for the economy. And that, again, that he brought money into the community or that he was on black people's side.
I'd be willing, I want to make a bet. I'd be willing to bet that if you do a poll, and maybe we should do some men in the street interviews. You do a poll and you ask people, who do you plan to vote for this election? They're going to say, if that's the question, I don't know. I think the reason why we see the polls favoring Kamala is because the questions are probably busted. They probably ask something like, when it comes to this November's election, do you intend to vote for the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, or the Republican nominee, Donald Trump? And they go, Democrat. And they go, that's for Kamala Harris. But if you actually ask the question, who are you voting for? Most people say, I don't know. We have a Biden poll for some reason. Echelon Insights has Biden v. Trump. I don't know why. Echelon Insights has a tie when Kennedy is out of the race. That's interesting. With Kennedy in the race, Trump loses. With Kennedy out of the race, it's tied. Harris, Trump, Stein, West, and Oliver each get 1%. That's fascinating. But you know what I'd be interested in doing is actually pulling up the poll here, which we have. August 2024 verified voter omnibus. And let's say first, right direction. Would you say things in the U.S. are headed in the right direction, or is the country on the wrong track? 64% say wrong track. I want to get to the, this is not the, download the crosstabs. Are you going to cause problems for me? I don't know if I want to deal with whatever it is they're going to try to do. If I download the crosstabs, can I just open them? Okay. It allowed me to open them. Perfect. Let's zoom in and take a look. And I want to see what the actual question is. Right direction, wrong direction. If you had to choose just one, which would you say is the biggest issue facing the country today? Infrastructure, 1%. What's the winner? 26. Cost of living. Whoa. Cost of living is the top. Jobs in the economy. So it looks like in total right now, cost of living is the biggest concern. Am I wrong about that? Yeah, the biggest concern is cost of living, followed by immigration, followed by jobs in the economy, because they are all tied together. Let's look at the youth vote. Cost of living is 31% for the youth vote, followed by, jobs in the economy at 15. Immigration for young people is only registering around 3. For 65 and up, immigration is 23%. That's really interesting. Most people are concerned about the economy, as it usually is. All right. They ask a question again, blah, blah, blah. What I want to see is how they ask who they're voting for. Because I'm willing to bet that they preload the questions, if we can actually get to it. They just keep asking the same one about what's the biggest issue facing. How many pages? There's 230. Oh, I ain't doing that. Let's go. Let's just do that. Do you have a favorable or unfavorable view of the following groups or individuals who have been in the news lately? Kamala Harris. Let's see. Total. Very or somewhat favorable is 50%. Very or somewhat unfavorable is 47%. And it looks like very favorable is 41%. Interesting. Let's try voting. Nope. Doesn't come up. Vote. Registered voters. And you see, that's what they're doing, right? Let's see. It's not easy. Who are you? Nope, doesn't come up either. I'm not going to look through 230 pages to try and figure this one out right now while we're live. So we'll just go through the polls and we'll take a look at what's currently going on. And then I'll come back to that later. But my presumption is that when they ask about who you're voting for, it's preloaded. Right now, Kamala Harris is up in aggregate by 1.5. But there's something interesting that I want to bring up. You actually get Don Lemon, of all people, going around and asking people, and they say they don't know who Kamala Harris is. So how could someone say they're going to vote for Kamala Harris if they don't know who she is? They're likely not. They're likely not. I say this. You want to solve the problems of this country? Here's what you do. You take the names off ballots. You can take the political parties off ballots. I say take all the names off. It makes no sense to me that they're going to say we have, 15 slots available for anybody running for office, and only the chosen 15 get to be there. That's an advantage that shouldn't exist in politics. So how about this? All ballots are blank. If you don't know the name of the person you're voting for, you can't vote for him. Have a nice day. If you write the name of the person you're voting for illegibly, then doesn't count. If you spell the name wrong, doesn't count. You have to know their name, spell their name properly. That's it. It's the weirdest thing to me that at one point we decided, voters are really dumb and they don't know who to vote for. Let's put their names on it for them. As if these are your choices. You could do a write-in. It's supposed to be a write-in. It always was. But I got to tell you, my friends, nobody has any idea what's going to happen. The polls are nuts. Okay. You look at the general election. What is this? Rasmussen has Trump up 3, but CBS has Harris up 3. Fox News has Trump up 1, Harris X Trump up 2, CNBC Trump up 2. Nobody has any idea what is going on or if Harris is going to win. No idea. In the battleground states, Trump is leading by 0.1, which suggests Trump is going to win. But Polymarket has Trump as the favorite. Holy crap. Look at this. $93 million bet on Donald Trump. $86 million bet on Kamala Harris. But over at Predicted, it's inverted. 56 cents for Kamala Harris, 47 for Donald Trump. This is nuts. Nobody has any idea. The polls are meaningless. Nobody has any idea. So what's it going to be, man? One thing I can tell you is Kamala Harris got no boost from the Democratic National Convention. I think quite plainly she lost. Polls went down. The prediction betting odds dropped for Kamala Harris. The DNC hurt her quite substantially. RFK Jr.'s endorsement actually boosts Donald Trump quite well. And I guess Ben Affleck is maybe going to join the Justice League or something. I don't know. Ben Affleck is reportedly spotted with RFK Jr.'s daughter, Kick Kennedy. Okay. I don't know. That story doesn't really matter, but I thought it was funny considering people were, RFK said it's the Justice League or something. I also want to point out to everybody, Thor and Iron Man are not DC. They are Marvel. They are not in the Justice League. Guys, please. The original Justice League, you've got Martian Manhunter, Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. That's it? The original 7? And then you can have the extended Justice League or whatever, but we don't need to go there. Anyway, the point is that's Marvel, not DC. I love this story about RFK Jr. beheading the whale for whatever reason. And this comes from his daughter, Kick. She said that it's a resurfaced interview from 2012. It was a normal day for us. What did she say? Kathleen Alexandra Kick Kennedy made the claim in a 2012 interview. I don't know why this is supposed to be bad for RFK, to be honest. Am I supposed to be mad about this? What did she say? Recounted a day when she was 6 and the family learned a dead whale had washed up on the beach at Hyannis Port. The actor turned philanthropist said on hearing the news, her dad headed down to the beach armed with a chainsaw to cut off the whale's head. He then strapped the grim body part to the roof of the family's minivan using bungee cords and drove the family to Mount Kisco, New York, 4 to 5 hours long. Every time we accelerated on the highway, the whale juice would pour into the windows of the car, and it was the rankest thing on the planet. Why didn't you roll the windows up? We all had plastic bags over our heads with mouth holes cut out, and people on the highway were giving us the finger, but that was just normal day-to-day stuff for us. I ain't even mad. I don't know. I'm supposed to be mad about that. Look, what is this? Oh, it's illegal, is it? After the story surfaced, environmentalists from the Center for Biological Diversity Action Fund claims that he violated the law. In a letter to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the environmental agency said that it is illegal to possess any part of an animal, dead or alive, that is protected under either statute. Continued possession of any whale skull represents a significant ongoing violation of the law. Dude, my least concern, okay, is whether or not RFK Jr. 12 years ago. Oh, it wasn't even 12 years ago. It was way earlier than that. How the kick is like, she's like 35 or what is she, 36? So we're talking about 30 years ago? The dude, I don't care. Whatever, man. No one has any idea what's going on. Nobody knows who's going to win this one. The media is acting like Kamala's going to win, but nobody knows who she is. I'm willing to bet when you actually dig through this, dig through 230 pages. Okay, here we go. For which candidate did you vote in the 2020 presidential election? And then, Kanye West, less than 1%, I guess. I'm willing to bet when you look at this, they're preloading this. They're saying, here's your choices, and people are choosing. 45% said Donald Trump. 49% said Joe Biden. I wonder if that's going to be the. I wonder if that's going to be the same. They asked, regardless of how you vote, would you consider yourself to be very conservative? 37%, somewhat liberal, 29%, very conservative, 19%, somewhat conservative, 18%, moderate, 32%, somewhat liberal, 15%, very liberal, 14%. Interesting. So is that? Okay. So they combined very and somewhat liberal. So what they're arguing here is that most of these people they polled lean conservative. They're saying they're oversampling conservatives, which I find very interesting. Maybe we can search for 2024 and that'll give us a better. No, it won't. Let's try Q 2024. There we go. Who do you expect to win the 2024 presidential race? Donald Trump, 44%. Kamala Harris, 46%. I wonder why they think that. Genuinely. Let's see. What else is there? Who do you expect to win the 2024 presidential election? Donald Trump, 44%. It's the same thing. Did they just ask the same thing? Yeah, it's the same question over and over and again. We'll see. Trump's got the moderates on his side. He's winning the argument. But Democrats, they played dirty games. We'll see. I'm going to wrap this segment up here. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com. Next segment will be coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Oh boy. $150,000 loans for illegal immigrants. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all at 4. All right. So we are definitely running behind because I did that bonus 17-minute segment on free will because I had the free will to do so. And so I'll just read one super chat before jumping into the story right away. And trust me when I say it is, in fact, not super easy to monologue for 2 hours. So, but I could probably go longer. I don't know. Just got to make sure I'm drinking plenty of fluids. Today, we have Volt and we have Numa. We have Numa Watermelon Lime. I love this stuff. These are like my favorite drinks. Low sugar. Low sugar, but there's still sugar in it. I think it's from the coconut water. They don't add sugar. I know the Vaults are really good too. All right. Emily Ziegler says, introduced my young, misguided lefty friend and music lover to your music. He's now jamming to a Timcast music playlist. This is a first step into having more in-depth conversations. Sweet. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I have my guitar over here because I promised to cover Everlong. And then last night, strap's cut. Last night I was playing Everlong for a little bit while we were talking about the Foo Fighters thing, which was funny. Funny indeed. All right, everybody. Let's jump to this next story. From Fox News, California is close to approving $150,000 loans for illegal immigrants to help purchase homes. Who would have seen this one coming? Wow, I suppose. If you've been really paying attention to what's going on in this country, you would have recognized that they were going to sell out your nation like that. How do you give property in the United States to non-citizens here illegally? Honest question. I got to be honest. They're not just selling your country away. They're giving your country away. They are stealing your money. They are then giving the stolen money and property to people who came here illegally. Oregon wants to do it too. Take a look at this. After backlash, Oregon nonprofit says state-funded homebuyer assistance doesn't exclude U.S. citizens. The big story was that in Oregon, they're going to give $30,000, I believe it was $30K, to illegal immigrants to buy homes. And people were like, what, Americans can't get that? And they said, okay, fine, everyone can get it. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to give it to illegal immigrants. Take a look at this story from Fox News. Lawmakers in California could soon make the Golden States the first in the country to make undocumented. What are you doing, Fox? Undocumented immigrants eligible for up to $150,000 in state-supported home loans. The Democratic supermajority in California state legislature is likely to pass a measure this week that would make undocumented immigrants eligible for the California Dream for All loan program, a state-funded program that provides 20% in down payment assistance up to $150,000, according to a report from Politico. Participants in the program must be first-time home buyers, and at least one must be a first-generation home buyer, while income levels must be below a certain limits depending on the county where the recipient lives. The measure comes amid the backdrop of a national election in which immigration has taken center stage, the report notes, with the Trump campaign attempting to tie Vice President Kamala Harris to Biden administration border policies that have proven unpopular with voters. I'm so bored with this. Kamala was the border czar. Okay, it's a figure of speech. It's not an official position. It's what they dubbed her. It was her job to deal with border issues. She even went down to Central America and said, do not come. Do not come. Okay, so yes, it's her fault. Fox, come on, grow up here. California Governor Gavin Newsom, who's been one of President Biden and now Harris's top surrogates on the campaign trail, has not said whether he will sign the bill into law if it clears the legislature before the August 31st deadline. Reached for comment by Fox News Digital, a spokesperson for Newsom said the governor doesn't typically comment on pending legislation. If the bill reaches his desk, the governor will evaluate it on its merits, the spokesperson added. Meanwhile, Trump campaign spokesperson Carolyn Levitt told Politico the bill is fundamentally unfair, but typical Democrat policy. However, Democratic lawmakers in the state have defended the legislation, arguing that it's simply designed to give undocumented state residents the same benefits afforded to everyone else in the state. We got it. We need Trump to win, man. Trump needs to come in and he needs to exert federal authority over these rogue states. Giving taxpayer funds to non-citizens is a seditious conspiracy. This country will not exist if these things persist. It will expand. And if Kamala Harris wins, if Democrats expand their control through illicit practices, there won't be a United States. I want you to understand this, my friends. When California brings in illegal immigrants, actually, let's do this. Let's pull up our good friend ChatGPT over here. And let me see if I can get this one. It's not loading. Let's see. How do we get it? All right, let's pull up ChatGPT and we'll ask ChatGPT what's going on in California. How many illegal immigrants live in California? I spelled illegal wrong, but it'll figure it out. Approximately 2.7 to 3 million undocumented immigrants are estimated to live in California, making it the state with the largest undocumented problem. What's undocumented mean? I asked about illegal immigrants. What's it going to say to that one? Undocumented immigrants and illegal immigrants generally refer to the same group of people. Undocumented is often used to emphasize the lack of legal documentation rather than the criminality, while illegal focuses on the unlawful aspect of their residency. Both terms refer to individuals. So just say illegal then. Let's see what it says. Memory updated. Got it. I'll use illegal going forward. Thanks, ChatGPT. Okay. How many people make up one congressional district? I spelled people wrong, but again, who cares? Each congressional district in the United States is designed to represent approximately 760,000 people, though this number can vary slightly depending on the state and how district boundaries are drawn. Are illegal immigrants counted in the census? Yes, illegal immigrants are counted in the U.S. Census. Okay. So how many extra electoral college votes does California get based on its illegal immigrant population? California's illegal immigrant population does contribute to the total population count used for apportioning congressional seats and, by extension, electoral college votes. However, it's difficult to quantify the exact number of electoral college votes attributed solely to the presence of illegal immigrants because the population counts include everyone residing in the state, not just citizens. Given California's population, its large number of illegal immigrants does slightly increase the representation in Congress and the electoral college. But the exact number of votes this translates to is not directly calculable. Are you dumb, ChatGPT? Let's try a simple game. So how many illegal immigrants are in CA? I don't want to type California. 2.7. So why don't you just divide that number by 760,000? How about that? If we divide the estimated number of illegal immigrants in California, approximately 2.7 to 3 million, by the average population of congressional district, 760,000 people, we can estimate the impact of congressional representation. So it looks like they're getting about 3 to 4 extra electoral college votes based on their illegal immigrant population. If this persists, man, that's actually really interesting. How many illegal immigrants are in the U.S.? This content may violate our usage policies. These people are evil, dude. There are an estimated 10.5 to 11 million illegal immigrants living in the U.S. How many illegal immigrants reside in safe blue states in the 2024 election? The exact number of illegal immigrants residing in safe blue states can vary, but states like California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey have some of the highest populations of illegal immigrants. Collectively, these states are estimated to have several million illegal immigrants, with California alone having 2.7 to 3. In total, a significant portion of the estimated 10.5. Okay, how about this? List out each safe blue state and their illegal immigrant population. I'm typing it quickly and spelling it wrong, but ChatGPT knows. Hey, easy, easy, easy. Look at this. Here we go. All right. So what we can see here is California, 2.7 to 3 million, it's the most. New York with 800,000 to 1 million. Illinois with 400 to 500,000. New Jersey with 400 to 500,000. Massachusetts with 250 to 300,000. So let's just do this. Let's just, we'll just take the top 3. We're looking at 5, 6. I would say if you were to add all these up, it's in a lot of these states, it will bolster the numbers. But I'm not going to include the 40 to 50,000. 100,000. Well, let's try this. Let's try this. How many people, or how many congressional districts does CT have? They have 5. So the 100 to 150,000 total population per CT CD. Let's see if it can figure that one out based on the context. The total population per congressional district is 720,000 people per congressional district. So, yeah, they're getting an extra electoral college vote and congressional seat based on the amount of, if we were to remove 50,000 from each district, no, it would be in Connecticut, it would be about, 30,000? Then they'd be at 690. They'd probably have likely one less seat, maybe. So here's the point in all of this. What California is doing and why they're doing it. In order for Republicans to win, they need about 5 or 6 extra electoral college votes to win because blue states are cheating. That's it. Democrats like to say, it's not fair that we win the popular vote, but Republicans still win the presidency because of the electoral college, despite the fact they're cheating. Despite the fact that they get extra electoral college votes based on illegal immigrants. We're supposed to be a republic. It's supposed to be the minority as an opportunity to rule, to prevent the majority from oppressing them. It makes sense. But they're cheating. That's what California and Oregon are trying to do now. Offering illegal immigrants your property, your birthright. Bravo, America. I'm going to wrap this one up there. Next segment is coming up tonight at 6 p.m. We got big news, good news. Machine guns are legal. Well, we'll see what happens. This is going to go to the Supreme Court, but this is a huge move that could nullify the NFA, at least in part. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this show with your friends. We will see you all at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out. Follow me on X at Timcast. All right, let's go. I'll grab another super chat here. And let's see what we got. Let's see. Brass Mustache says, Tim's Japanese ancestry kicking in on the whale beheading story. Yeah, only 5% though, but it's there. Certainly. Let's go. What do we have? Arsonist YouTube says, I hate being the one to say this, but if Trump and the team are the Justice League, RFK would be Batman. If you get my drift. No, I don't. Because of the way he talks. Because he talks like this. All the Kennedys talk like that. That's kind of weird. I'm not trying to be mean. They do. There's a video of all the Kennedy family disparaging RFK, and they all have that vocal issue. I don't know. Let's go. Slavkai says, Tim, did you hear about Hassan getting kicked from the DNC? You got to love seeing them eat their own. But he hates the Democrats. Hassan rags the Democrats all the time. Whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump to this next story. This is big news. Vox is livid. We got this story from Vox.com. A Trump judge ruled there's a Second Amendment right to own machine guns. Based. Because there is indeed a right to own machine guns. The Supreme Court's Bruin decision will keep on creating chaos until it's overruled. And so long as Donald Trump wins, I'm just going to pause real quick. This is why I want to insult those pro-lifers who are like, if you're not pro-life, you don't get pro-life votes. Like, dude, shut your mouth. This is about more than you. The gains made from the Trump Supreme Court for all of us have been so tremendous. Why don't you go whinge somewhere else and go fundraise off something else? Trump is not going to give you a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, okay? But he is going to sell chocolate, right? My point is this. You're not going to get everything you want, but the dude literally gave you a Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade. Why don't you sit down and shut up and accept these massive wins? If Kamala Harris wins, our gun rights are getting taken away. She's going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to overturn all of these decisions, and they're going to revert this country back to its hell state that it was in before Trump got these victories. Now, where was I? On Wednesday, a Trump judge in Kansas ruled that the Second Amendment invalidates criminal charges against a defendant charged with illegally possessing a machine gun. In the case, United States v. Morgan. Judge John Broom's decision in Morgan is obviously wrong, even under the Supreme Court's most aggressively pro-gun opinion, which Brooms relied on heavily. Vox, are you a news outlet or an opinion outlet? Ah, that's right. They're an opinion, and you're wrong. The Supreme Court says, the Constitution says, shall not be infringed. Nowhere does it say unless the rate of fire for the weapon exceeds, wrong. The federal government has no right to ban these weapons. And the morons in the Supreme Court, including Kavanaugh, who think they do, are wrong. Restrictions actually are allowed under the Constitution because we have a tradition. That's what they argue. A tradition of certain restrictions. Shut up. No, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If you want to change it, amend the Constitution. But until then, you can't just take a dump all over our country because you don't like the rules. The Supreme Court's 2022 decision in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin cast a cloud of uncertainty over nearly all U.S. gun laws. Good. Requiring the government's lawyers to prove that any gun law challenged in court is consistent with this nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Judges across the country have struggled to interpret and apply that vague standard. And many of them have openly complained that Bruin is unworkable. Good. In their published opinions. Read in isolation, Bruin's vague historical tradition test might be read to support Bruin's decision. But Bruin left in place a previous legal rule, first announced in DC v. Heller, which permits the government to ban dangerous and unusual weapons. Heller also includes a line stating that it would be startling to conclude that one of the court's early Second Amendment decisions invalidates the federal ban on machine guns, which it should. To get around Heller's conclusion, let me zoom in, actually, make it easier to read. To get around Heller's conclusion that the government may regulate dangerous and unusual weapons, like fully automatic firearms, dangerous and unusual, extremely common, actually, until they banned them. Brooms primarily argues that there were no laws similar to the modern-day ban on machine guns, either in 18th century England or during the period around America's founding. Of course, there's a really obvious reason why no actual machine gun ban existed in the 1700s. The machine gun wasn't invented until 1884. It's the stupidest thing in the world. These people are evil. Let me tell you. In the 1300s, they had multi-barrel cannons. Can I just pull this up for you guys? I'm going to pull this up. Maybe I can find a picture. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Let's try this one. This one. Ooh, Leonardo da Vinci drew this one. The Ribaldequin, known as a Rabald Randy Ribaldkin infernal machine or organ gun, was a late medieval volley gun with many small caliber iron barrels set up on a parallel platform in use in medieval and early modern Europe during the Renaissance period. When the gun was fired, multiple barrels discharged their projectiles all at once, yielding a much higher rate of fire than single barrel. Now I understand, my friends, that's not a machine gun, okay? But the founding fathers didn't ban multi-barrel rapid-fire volley cannons, okay? The ability to fire multiple projectiles at once existed in this era, and they did not ban these. If the argument is the machine gun is easier to make, then your argument is the founding fathers couldn't have banned handheld machine fire or something. I'd still argue. Volley guns existed. And they actually did have, I think in the 16th century, pistols with multiple barrels. Like it's so stupid because the idea is patently obvious. Just you Google these things, and they did the same thing way back in the day. What is this? A revolving 3-barreled matchlock pistol in Venice dated to 1548. During the late 16th century in China, Zhao Shizhen invented the Junlei Chong, a 5-barreled musket revolver spear. Around the same time, an earliest example of modern revolvers were made in Germany. Look at these pictures. I'm just going to pull this up. These people are lying to you, okay? They had multi-barrel firearms way back in the day. Flintlock with 3 barrels. These things were semi-auto. But they actually had multi-barreled volley guns way back in the day. They didn't invent the machine gun until 1884. They had rapid-fire weapons back then, okay? I know they're not machine guns, but the founding fathers understood rapid-fire existed. That's just it. Y'all can stop lying. But let's get back to the story here. Brooms also argues that centuries-old English and early American laws merely prohibited people from carrying guns to terrify the king's subjects or in such a manner as will naturally cause terror to the people. And so the Trump judge suggests it is unconstitutional to charge someone with carrying an illegal weapon unless the defendant also takes the same weapon out into the public streets and displays it in an aggressive manner. Taken seriously, this reasoning would also prohibit the government from banning possession of a tank, a fighter jet, or even a nuclear warhead. My dude, those things are not illegal to own. Now, nuclear warheads are regulated. Fighter jets and tanks, I don't think Okay, everything's got some degree of regulation, but you're allowed to own all of these things. So long as a civilian who obtains a nuclear warhead does not brandish it in public. Tell me, private entities own, control, and operate nuclear warheads at the behest of the U.S. government, right? In any event, Brooms' decision will appeal to the U.S. Court of Appeals in the 10th Circuit, a left-leaning court where Democratic appointees outnumber Republicans. The historical tradition test announced in Bruin has no real substance, cannot be applied consistently by lower court judges. So what? Shut up. You guys are evil, you're liars, and you want to ban guns, and you've got to change the Constitution. You can't do this. But I tell you, my friends, culture matters more. We can sit here and talk about winning in the courts, but they make it very clear. Democrat appointees outrank Republicans. That's all that matters. The hyper-partisan shift in this country, the hyperpolarization is exaggerated, and all that matters now is that the judges live in your cult. Republicans are going to say, look, you can't ban guns. Constitution says so. Democrats are going to say, we literally don't care. We're banning them because we can. Republicans won't exercise power. Democrats will. They say this chaos is likely to continue until Bruin is overruled. The history and tradition test announced in these cases provides lower court judges with no meaningful guidance on which gun laws are unconstitutional. All of them. And Bruin allows judges who are determined to reach pro-gun conclusions, no matter what consequences they strike down. So, United States v. Morgan. Let's click this. The matter before the court on defendant's motion dismissed based on the Second Amendment grounds. A response and reply have been filed. Tamori Morgan. Let's take a look. Who is Tamori Morgan? Let's look up the story. Let's see. Tamori Morgan. Is this, what is this? Is that him? What is this popping up? There's an image of stock photo. Does it say who this person is? I don't want to show the image until I'm for sure that I have Tamori Morgan, the defendant who is fighting for gun rights. I just see people talking about the person, not the person who got arrested. What is this one? Just women with machine guns. So I can't find an image of the defendant. So I don't know. Maybe there's a story here. No. Can't find an image of the defendant. All right. This is big news, though. I'm really excited to see this. And I hope that in the end, Hunter Biden wins. I hope Hunter Biden files a lawsuit over the gun form and argues that being required to state that he was a drug user is self-incrimination and violates the U.S. Constitution. And then when he does, they'll get rid of those forms as well. In the United States, we have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Some guns and some weapons are probably too dangerous for single individuals, like nuclear warheads and biological weapons. If you want to change it, you're going to have to amend the Constitution. By all means, you can try. Until then, you don't get to just make laws that overwrite and supersede the Constitution, though they do every day. Maybe we'll see a victory in this one when it goes to the Supreme Court, but I'll leave it there. Next segment will be tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thank you all so much for hanging out. We got a bonus segment today. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show. You can follow me on X at Timcast. And I'm going to wrap it up there. So thanks for hanging out, everybody. And we will see you all tonight.